I've been asked about the importance of time in a wild sheep chase. In particular, what's the significance of the part in chapter 40 where the rat stops time? He goes and he stops the clock in the house where he's met finally with the narrator and they're having a heart-to-heart conversation. So what does time mean in a wild sheep chase, and what is the significance of that scene? My idea and my theory is that this novel, A Wild Sheep Chase by Haruki Murakami, is about disconnection. It's about dislocation. It's a novel about separation. And my argument would be that through time, people become separated from each other. Through time, people become separated from their past. I think that in this novel, through time, people are separated from themselves, from their own emotions, their own identity, their own humanity. But I think the novel, again, this is my interpretation, is a very positive and optimistic one, especially towards the end, because I believe the novel could be read as suggesting that it's possible to stop the disconnection, to actually reach out to each other and try and engage with our own past and our own history and our own memories, and to try not to lose everything about who we are. Just to go back a little and give you some evidence of how people can become separated from each other. Well, the narrator drifts away from people throughout the text. In particular, the woman in his life. He has drifted apart from the woman described in the first chapter, the woman who would sleep with everyone. He even has forgotten her name. He has drifted apart from his wife. He has become separated from her, legally separated, but also metaphorically, they've drifted. Even, spoiler alert, his girlfriend throughout the novel will eventually sort of be separated from him. And again, this motif of separation, of people who at one time were close, becoming distant from each other, is evident. People become separated from the past, from their memories, from who they were, from their home. A good example is the way the narrator has become detached from his hometown. He almost doesn't recognize it. He says to his friend Jay, "It's not my home anymore." And there's the imagery of the beach and the seaside where the narrator used to play and hang out when he was young and throw garbage out into the sea or just throw things out there. That's all gone. It's been concreted over, and the ocean has been reclaimed and built out over, filled in. There are buildings that have gone up. And when the narrator goes back, he sees that there's a jetty that's like a small dock or a wharf leading out into nowhere, just leading out onto the reclaimed land. And he goes out and he throws a beer can out into that area, and a security guard comes and says, "What are you doing? You can't do this." And he says, "But I used to do this all the time." And then he gets told, "You cannot do this anymore. The world you were living in other words, doesn't exist here anymore." Through metonymy, this represents the narrator becoming separated from his hometown, from his memories, from his past, from his own history. Characters become separated from themselves, from their humanity and their own identity. Just some examples are the girl with the beautiful ears. She detaches her ears. She cuts them off from not literally, she blocks them off. There's the motif of namelessness. People don't have a name. In fact, the narrator is told, I bet you can't even remember your own name. Through time, people become separated from themselves. The whale is separated from its you-know-what through time. Even the characters who are mentioned early on, again, the narrator's previous girlfriends, they've become lost to him through time, and at the same time, he himself is losing part of himself through time. But, as I've already intimated, this novel is a hopeful novel, I think, in regard to this. I believe that it states that we, by the end, through the actions, through the rat reaching out to the people from his past, such as the narrator himself, and his friend Jay, and his previous girlfriend, the rat reaching out, rejecting the wild sheep and the offers of power, but also rejecting a life of being separated and cut off from everyone. He says, I just wanted to connect. He says, I wanted to be able to accept my weakness. Weakness is a human condition. And the rat says, I grew attached to my weakness. He's holding on to his humanity. He says, and I just wanted to enjoy simple things like having a beer with you. Through metonymy, having a beer with someone represents friendship and connection. He also says, I just wanted to listen to the sound of cicadas and see the sunlight. This is about being connected to the real world, to making connections. And this is what the novel, I believe, suggests is possible towards the end. So if we accept that time separates us from each other, time separates people from their past, time separates people from themselves, time separates people from their emotions, from their memories, from the natural world, from all that's valuable, then the rat stopping time. He grabs the pendulum, the clock stops, everything stops. And I believe through metonymy that's saying, hey, it's possible to reach out, to connect to all of these aspects that make life worth living in healthy and wholesome ways. And to truly, it's not easy, but we can not just hold on to the past, but re-establish connections. Check out the last chapters. In my view, they can be read as showing the narrator taking this direction. He goes back to his hometown. He meets up with Jay. He goes back into their past when they used to play pinball machines together, and he says, get a pinball machine into your bar. And he goes out and he cries. He connects to his emotional side, his humanity. The rat stopping time, for me, is symbolic. It's symbolic of the concept that appears late in this novel, that even though it's not easy to connect to our friends, to our family, to the people we love, and to stay connected, even though it's not easy to stay connected to our past and our history and our memories, and even though it's not even easy to stay connected to who we are and reality and all of those things, it's a choice we can make. The characters take it. What do you think about my theory on time in A Wild Sheep Chase? If you like it, take it, develop it, use it in your own responses to the novel. If you don't like it, fantastic. Come up with your own ideas about what time might mean in the novel. Good luck.